Salve omnes, I am Titus Octavius Corvus from TEMPLVM. This is our first video message and report to friends around the world on what had happened in our community in the past 10 days. On February 25th at 11:30 a.m. local time, me and my father Corvus had left our home to get the first batch of Ukrainian refugees with Hortensia Mayer Fabiana Faustina across the border with Romania. Canis Latrans from the USA organized the Emergency Coordination Center, made the evacuation plan, and along with Gaius Artorius Praekaninus, a well-known and active Novo-Roman, they announced a fund for the support of the evacuation efforts. Canis's primary profession is emergency management, which proved to be so helpful. In the meantime, Gnaeus Cornelius Lentulus provided us with many much-needed contacts. We reached out to the friends from Roma to arrange someone to meet the refugees, women and children, on the Romanian side to get them to a safe place where they can rest. We immediately got a response from Gaius Artorius that our people are welcome at his place in Germany. Tiberius Julius Nerva connected us to Philip Iris Kubin. He was more than happy to provide his flat in Prague to our refugees before they continue on their way to Gaius Artorius. Furthermore, Philip arranged his friends from Bratislava to drive over 1800 kilometers to the border checkpoint and back, in order to meet the group and drive them to Philip's place. Michal Švec and Michael Markech spent 27 hours on the road and waiting at the border to help us. The grace with which they did this, with zero complaints, with radiating positivity and support for us, we could never forget their help. For us, the trip was long, accompanied by ongoing horrifying news about the situation in the country. We drove without stopping, hoping that nothing would happen that would make our task impossible to finish. Military jets were flying over us, and the main highway we planned to use initially got closed due to the safety reasons right before we reached it. Even so, we kept high spirits, joking around and looking at the clear sky that allowed Sol Invictus to shine upon our path. The next day, at 8:30 a.m., we reached the border. The automobile line stretched for over 8 kilometers from the checkpoint, and we, relieved that we finally arrived, decided to wait in line to get our people across. They successfully crossed the Ukrainian border checkpoint only at 19 o'clock. After waiting for 2 hours in the car without moving any further than few hundred meters, we decided it was not an option. So we took the bags on our backs and moved to the checkpoint on foot. First me and my younger brother Marcus to see if the line on foot is any better, then called the rest to come moving too. While Marcus was waiting at the gates with the bags we managed to get, I made my way back to meet ours and help them with the rest of the bags. After making it there and back 4 times, my feet were covered in blisters and so sore that it made me doubt if I could make it back to the car when we said bye to our dear family and Faustina, and left them at the gates waiting to get through soon. Luckily, local guys gave us a lift back to the car where we had our first meal for that day. But it was only over for us when our group got through the gate to the passport control after another 2 hours of waiting, being separated in the tight nervous crowd and almost being crushed by it when gates opened. When we received confirmation that they did make their way through, only then my father and I started our trip back home to Poltava and TEMPLVM. Sense of massive relief knowing that they are safe made our road back way easier. Fighter jets, Ukrainian, we hoped, still crossed the sky over our heads, and in the city of Gaisin, our car was shot at. We were stopped and handcuffed under the barrels of 3 AKs due to the suspicion of sabotage. Moving on the road at night, me and my father switched places so he could have some sleep, first time in 35 hours of being on the road. We only stopped the car to change seats near the building of the local military unit. Being extremely tired, we didn't hear their command to stop and they opened fire. After getting out of the car, hands in the air, we were told to place our hands against the car, and so we waited like this, barefoot at night, for the police to arrive. Once they examined our car and realized we didn't have the spray paint, with which saboteurs are marking strategic spots for bombardment and landing of paratroopers, they let us go. And soon we were on the road again, not yet believing that this had just happened to us. 79 hours after we departed from home, we made it back, reunited with my older brother, who stayed to protect our home and TEMPLVM. Trying to tell him the story of our trip, we realized that 3 days were mashed into one convoluted mess in our memory. We needed sleep. Dramatic bits of this report are over. The first batch of the refugees of our community are now in Germany with Gaius Sartorius Pracaninus and relatives. Michael and Michael drove them from the Romanian border to Bratislava, and then friends of theirs and of Philip, Radovan and Matthias drove the group to Prague. Tiberius Julius Nerva met them there and provided funds to support themselves, his personal initiative with Gaius Servilius Vespillo, an exemplary citizen of Provincia Marcomannia. They looked after the refugees while they were still in Prague, giving tours around the city, providing tickets to the museum, and doing all they can to make sure they feel positive and safe. We cannot thank the international polytheistic community enough for the support from all around the world we were receiving in the past days. Canis Latrans for organizing efforts, the help of Nova Roma, members and their friends who organized the trip and made it all possible. Once we had rest, we arranged meetings and calls with 14 families of our TEMPLVM community here. Thanks to the fund Canis and Gaius Sartorius had announced and support of our patrons, we were able to make sure that all the families are provided with food, water, and medicaments for up to 2 weeks. We are now actively working on evacuating all those that are in danger. Yesterday, another family of 5 people, a mom and a daughter, 2 little kids, and an elderly lady, had successfully crossed the Polish border and are now heading to Wrocław. 2 days ago, a pagan family of 7 people moved in with us and are provided for. In order to provide as much help as we can to Ukrainian pagans, their families and friends, to support those members of our community already evacuated and those that are still here in Poltava, Kharkiv and Kiev, we created Jupiter Custos Fund. We'll leave the links to the socials in the description. You can follow the situation and get the latest news and updates, as well as to react to urgent needs that may pop up. Just to note, we won't be covering general news because they are frankly too much even for me, and you will be able to see all the news regarding the situation of our community here. Ukrainian people are survivalists throughout our history, so many people had supplies stored. I want to assure everybody that we are safe and all needs are covered for the nearest time. To our surprise, our government organized everything well. Stores don't run out of supply, volunteers are able to do their work and receive a lot of help. Transportation is not hindered in places away from ongoing fights. We hope it stays this way, but in the coming weeks, these things can get compromised. Donations can be made at our PayPal, and we appreciate your generosity and willingness to support us. But please, hold the donations for when it will be most needed, and consider our Patreon. We will be staying in touch. To close this off, I want to give back the help to our friends from Slovakia. Michael Švec runs Minalox company that creates custom lighting systems and more, and they ship it worldwide. If you want to get your lighting done by a company that saves lives in their free time, I ask you to visit their website. The link is in the description. I'm very sorry if I failed to mention somebody because we were receiving so much support and help in this past 10 days. Thank you all so much. We will see you again. Valete.